right, back at it. After we, of course, do our live show, I segment these things out so you guys can watch them later on throughout the day. It's Bishop on Air. Live to tape weekday mornings, but again, segmented out. And let's do a quick review here of what's happening at the Illinois State House. As after I leave here, I got to head back over there because we got another jam-packed day. But I do want to keep you guys posted, and you can find more at thecentersquare.com. Go to thecentersquare.com. Celebrating 5 years. 5 years as a nonprofit, fact-based newswire service. So go check that out. It's the Center Square and the Illinois page, where you can see some of the headlines. And I'm just going to go through some of these with you as I'm on the ground at the Capitol, watching what happens. And it was interesting yesterday, of course, we started the day with the Illinois Supreme Court doing their thing. But then you had, a fire alarm go off. And listen, there's been a whole bunch of instances of threats being called in. You've got the buildings being evacuated, all kinds of, questions of safety and security, but this was the scene yesterday outside of one of the Capitol buildings. Thankfully, I was in the basement of the Capitol, not of the Stratton building, which this is the Stratton building. Springfield Fire had to show up, people waiting outside, so it kind of made for an interesting start to the day. But we're in the final few days of session, right? And this is the last thing that needs to happen. I mean, there were House committees getting ready to start up, and then you had this go on. So, hopefully it doesn't continue to happen this way. But fire department showed up, and all clear was given shortly thereafter, and we go on with the day. So, plenty of stuff they tackled yesterday. So both the House and the Senate were in, and they have until Friday for scheduled adjournment. May 24th is scheduled adjournment. But they have until May 31st to pass a budget with simple majorities. We have yet to see a budget. I keep hearing that the Senate president and the House Speaker are going to the governor's office and having conversations, and they're trying to talk with their caucus members about the budgets and getting priorities in line. There's a lot of pushback about proposed tax increases that the governor has. There's also a lot of questions about member district projects, and those are projects that senators and representatives get carved out of the budget for their district. Say a new library, say a new road, say a new school, say whatever it may be, getting some kind of grant dollars to make the budget more palatable, so to speak. But some other things going on while they continue to hash out the details on the budgets. Again, that's your tax dollars. We still don't know how they want to spend your tax dollars. But outside of that, here's just some of the headlines. They passed a bill out of the House yesterday that passed the Senate previously, focused on local journalism, which one measure that they have is essentially saying that, hey, we're going to create some journalism task force initiatives here. And they had a task force look into local journalism that seems to be going by the wayside, with newspapers getting bought out and journalists losing their jobs. Nobody's really watching what's going on in local government. And listen, I'll be the first to admit more needs to be done on that. Having come from a local radio station, I saw how valuable it was to do a weekly catch-up of what's going on with local city hall in Springfield. I still plan on possibly dipping back into that once I can help better manage my time with the roundup of sorts of what's going on at Springfield City Hall or other city halls across Illinois. Hopefully I can share with you soon, big ideas that are coming together with one particular project. But regardless, there does need to be more local journalism and a focus on what's going on at village halls and city halls across the state. But should the government get involved? Should the government intervene? Well, here's what happens when the government looks to intervene. This measure requiring a 120-day notice of local media sales ready to go to Governor J.B. Pritzker. So essentially what it says is it's twofold. It says we're going to set up some journalism scholarships through the state's Illinois Student Commission, Student Assistance Commission. It's a state agency that helps back student tuition for teachers and such. Well, they want to add a journalism scholarship there. So it sets that up. I don't think there's much opposition to that idea. It's this idea, however, of requiring the local media company to notify the state and their employees within 120 days before they go to sell their company. So think about this. The supporters of it say, hey, this is great. We need to be able to try to, keep the sale of these local media companies to, outside hedge funds, because these hedge funds are coming up and they're buying up all these local media outlets and they're just shutting them down anyways. Well, the opposition, the Republicans in both the Senate and the House said what you're going to do here is you're going to cause the absolute devaluing of that asset by requiring a 120-day notice, because in that 120 days, you've got advertisers that are going to flee. You've got employees that are going to be fleeing. And then the value of that property is just going to plummet, and then nobody's going to want to buy it. So the opponents of this say that it's ultimately going to backfire to a degree. Some of the other headlines at the Illinois State House, again, at thecentersquare.com, you can find Illinois legislators set to change the word offender to justice impacted individual. Let's pull this story up because this is fascinating. This is another one of those measures that has a couple of different components to it. So House Bill 4409, it would add the Illinois Department of Corrections to the Adult Redeploy Oversight Board. Adult Redeploy is a program with the Department of Corrections that helps first-time offenders be diverted away from going into prison, right? But at the same time, while they're putting people on this board, they want to get rid of the word offender and replace it with justice impacted individual. So in a way, changing definitions, right? So it's no longer an offender, it's a justice impacted individual. Just leave that there. So that measure, House Bill 4409, it passed the House and then now the Senate, and now that can be sent to the governor's desk. Some of the other headlines, this is a big one as we talk about the budget. What exactly is going to happen with, other types of budgetary issues, like, for instance, tax credits. We have tax credits all throughout the state of Illinois. You've got tax credits that Rivian received. You got tax credits that are through the Reimagining Energy and Vehicles tax credits, the REV tax credits. You've got the tax credit for film and TV. You've got just a ton of different tax credits. Well, the governor, he wants to bring about even more tax credits. And in particular, he wants to give more tax credits to certain industries. So the Pritzker administration proposing a massive tax incentive package related to the electric vehicle sector. The incentives amounts to $300 million and would include EV makers that manufacture hovercrafts and microchips. So this package tackles a whole bunch of different types of incentive packages. You can go read the story and even hear some of the testimony for yourself from the House committee that heard about this. So they're moving forward with this idea, but the Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity, they ultimately say that this tax incentive package over 30 years is going to help generate $20 billion in new state revenue and creates thousands of jobs across the state. But Republicans firing back, saying that this is just continued expansion of government and carving out winners and losers, and it's bad for business when everybody, large and small, should really be able to have tax relief in a state like Illinois. So again, just some of the headlines at thecentersquare.com. Go check it out and read for yourself. We'll be monitoring what happens at the Illinois State House. So be sure to subscribe to the Center Square's newsletter, all right, and donate. It's real simple. Get that regular email to keep you posted on what's going on at the Illinois State House. All right, it is Bishop on Air. Thanks for hanging out. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and we'll be back at it tomorrow to give you an update of what's going on. So really do appreciate you guys being here each and every weekday morning. Have yourself a wonderful rest of the day.